Hey travelers, Mag and I here on day 64 of our trip around the United States. This morning we're shooting from Norway. That's right, Norway. But not that kind of Norway. We're back in Michigan, Norway, Michigan, on the shores of Strawberry Lake, which actually has a pretty rich history. This lake was originally part of a mining operation that caved in. The whole town had to move because of it. It's a pretty interesting earth cache that brought us over here. A little truth in advertising here. We did start our morning in Wisconsin. We had about 3 pages to cover down there and we spent a couple hours, but it was raining the whole morning and we didn't get any footage. So we're gonna go ahead and call today another Michigan day in the Upper Peninsula. Oh yeah. So from here we're working our way north from the border of Wisconsin, right back up to the banks of Lake Superior again, and then we're gonna cut west and we're gonna end our day in Houghton. If the last 2 days in the Upper Peninsula are any indication, we know that we're gonna see a lot of really beautiful places today. So, fingers crossed that's the case, although let's be honest, we're not going to need luck. The Upper Peninsula is beautiful. Let's see exactly what it has in store for us today. Come on! Not counting our undocumented time in Wisconsin, our day kicked off in Norway, Michigan. Our first stop in town was the Jake McGinney Historical Museum. Unfortunately, we were just a bit too early to tour inside the museum, but we did have a chance to walk around the outer grounds. This log museum sits on the edge of the city and holds hundreds of artifacts and photographs relevant to the culture and history of the area. Much of what we had an opportunity to see was old farm equipment. And seeing all of these relics stacked side by side really gives you an appreciation of modern innovations. I don't think I'd want to spend hours sitting on any of these contraptions. Not too far behind the exhibits is a nice pathway to get out to where the geocache is hidden as well. It was still pretty early, and my brain wasn't fired all the way up yet, so I was glad that this one was an easy one to track down. It was also looking a little sparse on treasure, so we went ahead and added a bunch of swag before we left too. Then we were off to visit the local artesian well. This was a very busy spot with people coming and going the entire time we were here. And after one drink of the water, it was easy to tell why. Since we've had to measure the temperature, we know this is the coldest artesian well we've had in the state. It was a long way from there to our next destination, so we stopped for another geocache along the way. Once again, I was happy to see that it was an easy one to find. I suspect that my skills aren't there today to find anything more complicated than this. With it being such a large geocache, it was nice to see that there were so many things inside. Separate containers for travel bugs, swag, and the logbook. A pretty darn good find. We had a lot of targets on our list for Ishpeming, but it turns out we would spend all of our time at the Yoopers Tourist Trap. Once again, this is a testament to what one person can make happen if they set their mind to it. This unique spot is organized and owned by Jim Hooley, master of all things Yooper. As a lifetime Upper Peninsula resident, Jim has made a career out of showcasing the Upper Peninsula lifestyle to travelers. Well, that is, the stereotypes of Upper Peninsula lifestyle anyway. It is certainly important to come into these exhibits with a good sense of humor. The exhibits range from odd to just strange, and include a lot of humor regarding gas, belching, drinking, and sportsmen doing odd things. Not to mention all the vehicles that would be questionable to operate on any kind of public roadway. There are also a few Guinness Book of World Records holders here too, including Big Gus, the world's largest operational chainsaw, and Big Ernie, the world's largest operational rifle. There's more to see here than we have time to show you. This is definitely one of those spots where if you're ever in the Upper Peninsula, you've just got to come see it for yourself. And if you don't get a chuckle out of at least a few of the exhibits, well then there's probably just no help for you. Although we'd already fallen a little behind at the Yoopers Tourist Trap, we still had to make one more stop at the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. No, not for the exhibit, silly, for the geocache hidden there. And then we began our ascent up to the top of Mount Arvon. The roads were good for the first few miles. But before we knew it, conditions had started to get a little more dicey. We had to turn back several times at roads that were just too muddy or drowned out. which is why it's important to know your vehicle's capabilities and what you can and can't do. We did end up finding a road that worked for us though, and we splashed our way straight through. We started to gain a little bit more confidence when we saw a sign from Mount Arvon. Up until this point, we hadn't even been sure we were going the right way. The road from there was a smooth sail up with no issues. And we actually flew through it in no time at all. Upon seeing the blue sign at the top of the mountain, I finally let out my first breath of relief. We'd made it to Mount Arvon, the highest point in Michigan. For the most part, Ai-chan's been sleeping on the drive up. She didn't want to get out of the car when we reached the top. But I gave her incentive and a little chicken jerky, and then up she came. You doing, Ai-chan? You good? We figured since we'd come all the way up here, we might as well take the time to enjoy it. It's definitely a beautiful sunset right now. We've still got a couple of pages left to cover, and we still have one more county to go, but we'll be able to make it to Houghton tonight, no problem. Of course, once we reached the highest point, we realized there was a register logbook. This really felt to me just like finding another geocache, which of course meant I needed to provide my stamp of approval. Well, travelers, that's a wrap for the day. We made it to the top of Mount Arvon. It took a lot longer than we thought, and we didn't think we were going to make it here when we took that wrong road. But fortunately, going north was the way to go. The view out here is pretty magnificent. It's definitely a spot to sit and hang out for a while, especially since you took all the time to drive up here. Since we lost all that time, we're going to cut all the excess out of our target list and move straight into Houghton for the night. We'll be staged there and ready to go for the morning. Now we're going to work on getting back down from here, so wish us luck, and let's hope we have a little bit of daylight left to finish our target list for the day. All right. Hold the show, hold in. I'm cutting in right there. Hey. Worrying Mag over there was concerned we weren't going to make it off the top of Mount Arvon with any daylight left. No problem at all. Although it did turn out that the west side going out was even hairier than the east side coming in. There were two spots where we encountered some pretty deep water, and we just pushed on through it. And at the end, we hit a locked gate. And for a moment, we thought we were stuck in there, but it wasn't actually locked. It was sealed with a carabiner. And at that point, with two creek crossings, it was already too late. We were so glad that that gate was opened up. We were able to make it to the shores of Lake Superior, and we are so happy to see this lake finally today. I was starting to think it wasn't going to happen, and I'm really starting to like this lake, so I'm glad we made it work for today. Thank you guys for joining us. It's been one heck of a day. Between the Yoopers spot and the climb up to the top of Mount Arvon, Ai-chan and I are exhausted. It was really quite the adventure. Like this video, subscribe for daily updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.